Welcome, everyone, to the NCAA Social Series, episode 34. I'm Andy Katz. We're focusing on the NCAA Woman of the Year Virtual Awards for 2020. Pleased to be joined by Suzette McQueen, who comes from the CIAA. She's the Senior Associate Commissioner for External Relations and Strategic Partnerships and an NCAA Women of the Year Selection Committee Chair. Denise Udelhofen from Loras College, Athletics Director, also an NCAA Committee on Women's Athletics Chair, and last year's winner, Angela Mercurio, former Nebraska triple jumper and a 2019, as I mentioned, NCAA Women of the Year, a biochem and women's gender studies major. So I want to start there because your resume is incredibly impressive. First off, what are you doing now?
I'm currently a first-year medical student at Harvard Medical School. So I'm living out in Boston right now.
Well, obviously, middle of a pandemic, more doctors focusing on this, and your life and your story is incredible in what you overcame with your diagnosis as a senior in high school, overcoming a tumor diagnosis and becoming an elite track and field athlete, and then going on to be successful academically. First, before we get to the history of this award, I just want to know, first off, what this award meant to you.
Yeah, so to start off, it was definitely a surprise. After getting to know the other nominees that were up for the award and seeing what they had accomplished, what they had lined up for their future, I was just so inspired. I was honestly just happy to be there, happy to be in their cohort, happy to be considered with the women who won this award over the past couple decades at that point. And yeah, so I was not expecting to win. And I was looking around at the other girls like, no, she's gonna win, she's gonna win, she's gonna win. I didn't prepare a speech, anything like that. So yeah, first feeling was definitely shock. But after I reflected on it a little more, it was definitely a much deeper experience. I think when you're an athlete on that level, it's not like you just, rolled out of bed at 18 and decided to try your sport. It was, for me, it was at 9 years old when I was like, okay, I enjoy running, I enjoy the sport. And then in middle school, feeling like, okay, I want to get an education and track is a way to do that. And then high school, continuing to make sacrifices and work hard and track and in the classroom and miss out on time with my friends and other fun things. And then further into college, more sacrifice, more long days of work and studying and being in the community and all of those other things. So to win the NCAA Women of the Year award to me was validation almost. Like everything I had done over all the years since 9 years old, it meant something and I was being recognized for all of that work. So it was that validation, and it was also this motivation to keep pushing on and to continue with the hard work and everything that I was doing. Beyond that, it was really important to me to be able to represent Nebraska on that stage and showcase how much they had supported me and all other student athletes. Because, I mean, if they hadn't made sure we ate 3 times a day, who knows if I would have been able to, keep pushing my body to that limit. So, and also my coach, because he was extremely flexible and enabled me to balance everything else with track, and that's something I'll be eternally grateful for.
Yeah, and as we get ready to crown the next winner, the 30 honorees, the 9 finalists, the one winner, you check the resumes and they're incredibly impressive. Suzette, I'll start with you, then Denise. First, Suzette, listening to what this award means to Angela, how she epitomizes the values of this award that started 30 years ago in 1991. How does it make you feel being a part of this when you hear the passion and everything that you worked for and the culmination of getting an award like this and what it means to you?
Well, I just wanted to say hello to Angela and thank you everyone for letting me be here today. And Denise, hi. You deserved it. I mean, it was a very tough decision last year. It's a very tough decision this year. I was a student athlete many moons ago, and I know I would not have been in the same category. I mean, the amount of work that goes into being a complete academic, athletic, leadership, community service. I mean, that takes a huge commitment, and I congratulate you and all the honorees from this year. It really is, and it makes our job very tough too, because we have a lot of great candidates, and to get down to the nitty gritty of just one little thing that makes someone stand out above someone else doesn't negate all the wonderful things that they did, but you do have to ultimately pick one person, and it was very difficult to do that. But all the honorees were definitely amazing and inspirational and very impressive.
Denise?
I, took along with Suzette, it's a committee effort. And, she talked about the nitty gritty. When you're talking about these kind of student athletes, they're fantastic across the board, and we really look at personal statements, is there something that they had to overcome or something that they had to do to be a student athlete in 4 years and be successful. I will say and echo also is that when you read these resumes, you look back and you're like, what did I do with my life? Because what they're doing, it's like blowing us out of the water. So it's so impressive what they do and that they do it. And we know how hard it is to be a student athlete, but to put all that community service and all the things, extra things that they do to go in to be Woman of the Year is just, it's mind blowing. It's awesome.
One thing that really struck me in looking at some of these past bios and the current bios is how many are related to the medical field, whether it's even kinesiology, which is obviously the physical aspect, or the biochem, or biology, and I'm just, and if all of you could sort of comment on this, I'll start with you, Angela. Is that just a coincidence, or why is that so many of these women, these elite athletes, are somehow tied in some form or fashion to the medical field?
Yeah, I don't know if I have like a for sure answer, but my first thought is that it's a little self-selecting in that the process through medicine is a very long, hard road with a lot of sacrifices to be made and a lot of hours put in. And that's very similar to the road through being a student athlete. So I think, you have those personality traits that you develop through your time as an NCAA student athlete, and then you continue to refine and use those same skills through medical school and through medical training and through all those things. So I think in that way it's self-selecting, but I also would say, like, in my biased opinion of all the wonderful teammates I've had, is that like they truly care about people, and that act of service and that compassion that we have for each other and for the world we live in, I think shows through medicine as well.
That, and then Denise?
I would say, I'm thinking back to past years, other resumes that we read, and sometimes it's usually an experience that they had. They got hurt during high school or college, and they've had to go through physical therapy. They've had to work with, various doctors, and sometimes that's what triggers or sparks their interest in that type of profession.
Yeah, I would agree with Denise on that one. I think that being around athletes and physical fitness and all the things that it takes to be successful at that high level, it self-selects for folks that are interested in being around other athletes and other forms of medicine and health and wellness. So I think that I agree with Denise.
All right, so let's go back to 91 and the creation of this award. Suzette, I'll start with you. If you can go back to that era of where we were as an NCAA organization, an athletic community, sort of awakening and recognizing the great accomplishments of women, which would have been less than 20 years or right around 20 years from Title IX. So, I mean, just a little shy of that, I guess. What went into the thinking from, historically about, okay, let's make sure we start this award at this point?
Well, I know Angela wasn't even a twinkle in anyone's eye, but for me, that was my prime time. I was in college in 91, and I think with Title IX had been established, women were participating, they were making their mark, and this award it came about at the right time, in the sense that it was time to start recognizing the accomplishments of women. There were tons of awards for lots of different things that men were doing, but the fact that the NCAA decided to create an award that specifically targets not only athletic excellence, but also academics, leadership skills over your cumulative career, not just a single year, but what these women have done for 4 years at their institution. So it came about at the right time. Unfortunately, I missed it. I was a little too soon, but I think that it's an amazing opportunity to not only recognize a Woman of the Year, but it's divisional. All three divisions are included in this award. So a Division III athlete has the same opportunity to win this award as a Division I athlete. And I think it's an amazing opportunity to celebrate all women across all divisions, across all sports throughout the NCAA.
Denise?
I would add to that, and that was one thing that I was going to, I mean, to me, that it's across all three divisions, and then you read all the different you know, accolades that they have and accomplishments that they've done, and a lot of things that stick out to me, especially some of them that you're a student athlete, but they're going, they're studying abroad, they're going, you know, during the summers, you know, when they have time off, they're doing something, usually with community service. And so to me, it's just that women get that opportunity and that we are recognizing them for all of their accomplishments. I just think it's good for women, and it's good to have them, you know, we'd like to give everybody an award that applies, and I mean, that would be over 600 awards, I think, and so a year, but it's just, I think for women, this is important. We need this. Women need this.
Oh, Suzette, to that point, Division I, II, and III, there are times when they are like completely different worlds. Mm-hmm. Obviously, funding, access to medical care, you know, all down the line. What went into that thought process of one award versus, because I don't even know how you would decide that, because there's so many different, you know, athletes that you could go with at different levels, but to choose one among all three divisions, how was that decided?
Well, I think the great thing about the way the award is set up is that you're guaranteed to have representation when you get to the final decision. So we go from, as Denise mentioned, 605 applicants to, I think there were 160 odd conference honorees. And then from that, we pick a top 30. And of that top 30, 10 have to be from each division. So you're already guaranteeing representation. And then we narrow it down to a top 9, 3 from each division. So then when you're looking at that one person for the year, you have a great representation across all three divisions. And it really helps to make sure that there are opportunities for women at all, in any institution, to be recognized for their accomplishments. That's what I love about the award, is that it recognizes the top 30 and it celebrates them on a national stage. And the same thing with the top 9 gets celebrated, and then your final candidate. And the way it's set up, it really ensures that the right candidates are receiving the recognition each year. And ultimately, the full committee on women's athletics has to decide the one person. Once our subcommittee has got that 9 in place, we turn it over and let them decide. But it's a tough decision. And historically, there have been representation across all three divisions, so which is great.
No, Denise, about this, that there's no wrong answer here. I mean, once you get to the finalists, you know, it's not like the MVP of the WNBA or the NBA or something. We can look at the numbers, what they accomplished, and say, okay, that's your MVP. You know, you really, and I know it'd be difficult to not be the winner versus the other 8, but at the same time, when you look at this pool, how much do you say, you know what, all of them could win, and unfortunately we have to just pick one?
I think we say that, and Suzette can, I think we say that every time that, you know, I've done this last 3 or 4 years. I think every year it's like, okay, I mean, there's no bad choice. And so that's nice. But I can tell you that it takes hours. This isn't like a 15-minute discussion and then, you know, decide the winner. It takes us usually a meeting, we take a break, and then we come back. Another thing, you know, it's across all three divisions, but the amount of all the different sports that we see, you know, we might see rugby, bowling, track and field, swimming. I mean, to me, that's unique in that not all, you know, Division I, II, and III, not all of us have all those sports. And so sometimes when you see what they've gone through and what the seasons that they do, I think that's unique too. It's just, you're really looking at the whole individual and what, you know, what the packages they bring.
So Angela, I mean, I know your story was well documented a year ago, but people have short memories. So I just want to peel back, if we can, just for a moment here, and go back first to that first diagnosis that you got in your senior year in high school. At that point, how much did you think any athletic career could potentially be over before ultimately you ended up being this elite athlete and triple jumper at Nebraska?
Yeah, I think at first I was well, it was a tumor in my knee, so I was seeing an oncologist, which was scary in itself. And that kind of fear of, is this cancer? Like, am I getting, like, do I have a chronic illness? Kind of that idea. And will I ever be able to do track again? And at that point, my whole identity was wrapped up in track and in being an athlete. Like I said, since I was 9 years old, that was just how I viewed myself. So you couple that with, I got my diagnosis 2 weeks before I was supposed to go to Nebraska on the scholarship I had worked for 6 years, like really worked really hard just for this. And I'm being told, oh, well, you're never going to do track again. You might not walk for a year. So yeah, in that exact moment, I can't really even say how I felt, but just, I don't know what my life is going to be from here on out. But thankfully, and I don't know where it came from, there was a little bit of hope in there. Like, okay, maybe this isn't the final diagnosis. Maybe this isn't like the final word. And I was eventually, ultimately able to meet another surgeon who, gave me a different diagnosis. And I got back on the track within 3 months, which is vastly different than never again. So I think in that, it did come down to that aspect of hope and believing, like, okay, there's another option, and like, this is what I want to do, and this is what, like, I hopefully will be able to do if I find another method.
Angela, one thing that I hope that we still have in a post-pandemic world is the ability to have these global citizen athletes, because that's what you are as well. With Canadian roots, you spent time in India, Nebraska. I'm just curious, how much as a global citizen did that help shape you?
Yeah, I think that is a huge part of who I am as a person. And I think it does start with being Canadian, where I grew up, having a lot of friends from all over the world, my dad and my oldest siblings being from Jamaica. I think it played a huge role in just this understanding of the fundamental differences between all of us, but that's just what it is. It's not a problem. It's not like something we need to try to, often we do find we have to have the tough conversations to figure out those differences, but it is that is how we are. And that's what makes this place so beautiful. And that is what makes this place interesting and fun, and makes it cool to meet new people and travel and go around the world and have new experiences. So I think that's a huge part of who I am. And I think it has also played a role in me wanting to pursue medicine as well, and have this opportunity to take care of all different types of people.
Yeah, if you guys can pick up on that, Suzette and then Denise, about that aspect, and look at the bios. Some of these athletes have done things similar to that as well. I hope, as I said, as we look forward to candidates, that when we get on the other side of this, that people will be able to travel the world and help people around the world to enhance their own, just everything about their whole complete person as they move forward. But how much of a factor is that when you see someone, who's done the kinds of things that Angela did, and to, really across the globe?
It's very impressive, and kudos to the coaches and institutions that support athletes for global travel. It's very difficult to try to be away for a semester and still train and come back and pick up where you left off. So the support that they have from the institutions is huge. But it does make a difference to see that someone is willing to step outside their comfort zone, to try new things, to take on more challenges. We have candidates who started organizations, who are leaders in their community, who are going overseas and volunteering their time and energy. So that definitely comes into play when we read the personal statements and see all the activities that the women are involved in. It's quite impressive.
I think also it adds to the diversity of the pool. Where they come from, different areas that they come from. And I would agree with Suzette that the things when they travel, that is something that they have to step out of their box, because nobody, we have some that are from small towns that do this, and some that, had, more global experiences. But when they're able to do that, it's just, I think it just helps them overall. And, what we really want in college athletics, and we want to make somebody better from the first day they step on campus to when they leave. This award, validates everything that we do in athletics when it's more than what's going on the field, the court, the pitch. We're making them better people, and we're making them contributing citizens to society.
I love that point, Angela, and I'm curious just to pick up on that. How critical is it for female student athletes that are now coming behind you to get out of that bubble, get out of that comfort zone, and put yourself in an uncomfortable situation to see how you react and to see how you grow?
Yeah, I take that question to mean like, how can you maximize your opportunity that you're given, like as an NCAA student athlete? Like, yes, your primary motivation there, it was probably first athletics, and then it was like, okay, I want my education. There's the academics, but how do you branch off into those other two areas, the community service, the leadership? And there's like this analogy that I've thought of many times in my own life is like, after a track competition, I wanted to be able to look myself in the mirror and say like, okay, you gave everything you could, and the outcome is how it is because you gave it your all. But I also want to be able to say that about my life too, and like to be able to say, okay, after I left Nebraska, I gave it everything I could in my life in general, and I got everything I could out of that campus, out of that city, out of my community of friends and people around me. And I think that is what I would say to the young women coming up beneath me is, you know, maximize your opportunities so that when you look back and you've graduated and you've completed this time, like, did you make the absolute most out of all of the blessings you were given to be in that place? And I think you can do that when you step outside of your comfort zone and when you say, okay, how can I give back to this community that I have this privilege to live in? And how can I be the best friend that I can be, and the best teammate, and the best leader on my campus, and all of these things, and strive for that greatness that you strive for in your sport and all of these other areas. I think that is when you push yourself to be the best person that you can be.
And I would say that as a parent as well, and I don't want to trash the AAU scene for girls and boys, but I think this is a great example that parents take the pause button sometimes. Which I think of as that pieces when they post about when you see these travel teams going all over the country, and that's all they live for is whatever it's travel softball, travel baseball, basketball, you name it, male or female. But that's not everything. That they have to obviously be much more of a well-rounded person, just as a human being, even get that scholarship and to enhance who you are as a person beyond athletics. I think this is a great example, and Angela is the perfect example to show just being the whole person is more important than literally every weekend and every week. All you're doing is competing for these tournaments to ultimately get some sort of scholarship. That's what I believe. I'm curious what you guys think. Start with you, Denise.
Well, I think when you listen to Angela speak, how can you not get excited and just be like, she's fabulous? And we see these other resumes that are the same thing, and just, they're doing it the right way. And it's not just about wins or losses. It's about how she's going to be a leader, now in the medical field. And it's awe-inspiring to me. Like, you listen to them and you're just like, this is why we do this, because of Angela.
Yeah, I would agree with that. The way the award is set up, it's equal parts. So there's 30% for your academics, 30% for your athletics, and 30% for community leadership, and then your personal statement makes up the balance. So we've had candidates that are All-Americans, and we've had candidates that have had 4.0s. But when you put it all together, our candidate has all of those characteristics. And Angela is a perfect example of someone who has a complete package. She's the complete package. And the candidates that we see this year, the ones we saw last year, that's why it makes it very difficult. We get down to the point where you literally are just deciding small little differences with the women, but they're all have got there because they are complete packages. They are well balanced. They're doing it in a community. They're doing it on the field of play and in the classroom. And so congratulations to Angela again, and then also for this year's honorees.
Well, I appreciate Denise and Suzette. And Angela, I just want you to have the last word, because for student athletes that are out there watching in advance of this award, this is an unprecedented time. You're in the medical field, you're at Harvard where they're all online, the predominant, majority of students there in a lot of places around the country. And we've talked about this a lot on our social series, and we worry about the mental health aspect for a lot of these athletes. If they, have to be in isolation or quarantine, or their whole lives are disrupted, their normalcy is no more. Hopefully it'll come back in the spring, summer. But just what would be your advice of weathering this storm, of getting through, this incredibly difficult time when so much of what you're used to has been altered?
Yeah, I think my heart goes out to all the athletes right now because I mean, I'm retired, but I can only imagine how hard it would be to, not be able to train as how you want to train and, be confined to your house at times when you just want to be with your team and other things like that. So my heart goes out to all of you for sure. And my advice would honestly be like, take advantage of this time. Like, even though it's not in your plan, it's probably not in plan A, B, or C, you can use this time to find out what else there is, about you that you love. What do you love outside of your sport? Do you like to paint? Do you like to write? Do you like to sing? Have you wanted to learn how to play guitar? Find these other things that you love and that, give you that same sense of purpose and that same sense of joy that your sport gives you, because like ultimately sport is not forever. That's the one point. And hopefully you go on to be professional or you stay in the sports realm in some other like professional capacity. But if not, there is other things that you're gonna have to do. So I think taking this time to work on these other avenues and explore other avenues while you can make it a little more bearable.
Wow, I'll tell you, Denise, what an unbelievable ambassador for the NCAA Women of the Year Award for 2019. Angela Mercurio, unbelievable. You're a star, and I know that great things are to come for you, certainly in the future. Appreciate all of you, and thanks to everyone. And as always, you can go to ncaa.org/social series, where all our social series are archived, all 34 episodes.